Hey everybody, welcome back to Stand Up Your Tubes, where we control the tubes and the tubes do not control us. So I've been exploring the versatility of fur yarn and making creatures, and these three are made out of fur yarn, 4-ply, and the little guy in the middle uses some velvety yarn that I got from Hobby Lobby. I'll put links in the description and supplies and any tips or updates. So what makes them so special is how they feel. I mean, it's fur. It's just so soft on your hands. So I'm going to pause just for a moment and bring the teddy bee front and center and check out those cute little bee antennae, an adorable teddy bear face, a little stinger for a tail, everything you need to be a proper teddy bee and to be adorable, and for some child to just absolutely love this creation. And something else that is special are the feet with the big toes and the pad down here. So soft and adorable. So easy to make. So if you can crank out a tube, do a color change, mattress stitch, you can make any of these creatures. So I hope that you'll like, subscribe, stick around and watch the tutorial, and that you will make a teddy bee. Thank you for watching, and I'd like you to click right here. Can't quite get my finger in the right place. You'll see a little icon of Sean the Magic Dragon down there, and if you click it, it will open up the subscribe button. So make sure you check out the descriptions for the supplies, links, and updates. And stick around and watch this amazing tutorial for a creature that is so easy and fun to make. God bless you. Okay, well, I'm always wanting to try something different. So I cranked out the body, and instead of using yellow fur, black fur, yellow fur, black fur, I thought I'd try something different. So I have yellow fur, and then I had been at Hobby Lobby and they had the Yarn Bee Velvety Smooth black, and it cranked out really well. I was surprised. So how I got started was, I don't like to pull a closure shut with my fur yarn because you have to have so much fur yarn you're casting off and then you're wasting. And it's hard to pull that fur yarn. It's much easier to pull a 4-ply piece of yarn. So for the body on the 22 pin, you'll want to gently tie your yarn ends together, especially if you've used this velvety yarn. So you'll tie your yellow fur end and your velvet or black fur end together in a knot and bury, because this is the pearl side, which you cannot tell with this velvety yarn. You would never know. Okay, so let's talk about how we're going to make our next tube. So I would suggest that you pause and write down these row counts, but we're going to cast on with our yellow 4-ply and crank 1 row. Set our counter to 0, then tie on our yellow fur yarn and crank 10 rows. Tie on the velvet black or black fur yarn, either or, and crank to 22 rows total. Then tie on the yellow fur yarn and crank to 32 rows total. Tie on the velvet black or black fur yarn and crank to 44 rows total. Tie on the black 4-ply, crank 1 row, and cast off. And that's how we make that tube. And stuffed it nice and full. It's very firm. And I went ahead and cinched up this end and knotted it shut, buried my yarn tails, and I have a cute little bee body. And we're going to make 2 legs that the bee sits on. So I guess those are the bottom legs. And we're just going to use our 4-ply and make 2 legs that are 30 rows. Alrighty, so I'm getting ready to mattress stitch up. Let's just put a knot up here. Alright, so mattress stitching up. You can't see what I'm doing on black anyway, so I'm going to do it off camera. Alright, so I made it to 1920, and I'm going to go ahead and start stuffing this. And so I'm just going to keep filling it up all the way to where I stop mattress stitching, and then this will go the part that we're going to sew onto the body. I'm sorry that it's black and you can't see it. Really pushing it down into this leg. Alrighty. Okay. Whoops. Now that I have my stuffing in there, I'm going to take a knot right here. Get a little wisp of stuffing right up in this area. I marked the back of my tube with bobby pins, so I know that's the back. So I want to bring this back so that with my bobby pins here in the front, I'm halfway back. So right here, and I'm going to manipulate this, cinch the top up a little bit so that it's fitting in between my yellow band and where it starts to curve, where I need it to sit. So right here. And I'm going to sew around it. When I get around here, I'm going to lift its little leg up. See right here where I quit mattress stitching? I'm going to make sure that I'm stitching that down onto the leg. Okay, so I have sewn on both of the legs, and they look a little odd without feet, but very sturdy, sits really, really well. And now let's make our arms. And I've already made this one so you can see what it looks like with its cute little hand. Very, very lightly stuffed. So here is the tube. And here's how we're going to make the tube. So we're going to, with our black, do 33 rows of the black 4-ply. Then we're going to tie on our fur yarn and go until we have 40 rows total. Then tie on, depending on what color you're using, 4-ply that matches your fur or is close to it. And we're going to go around one time and then cast off. And that's going to leave us a 4-ply yarn tail that we can pull to close up this tube. We're going to leave it on the purl side. So stretch it out. You can cinch up the top of the tube. And then make sure that where we changed from our 4-ply to our fur yarn, that it has a good knot in it. This is the one that we're going to pull to close it up with. So let's just tuck in our fur yarn, but leave out this other yarn tail because that's going to be good to tie off to. Close up the end of the tube, tie the two yarn tails together, and that'll give us a good solid closing. And we'll want to roll this part to the inside where we've tied on our yarn tails together. All right, and we'll sew with the yarn tail here. We're going to put a knot at the top of it, close it up, knot it, and then we're not even going to mattress stitch because the black absorbs all the light. We're on the purl side, so just start whip stitching it closed, but don't skimp on your stitches. You know, take enough stitches to get it closed up good. When I get to about right here, I lightly put tufts of stuffing in it like this, so it's not too much. And then when I get it looking about like this one, I'll go ahead and finish stitching it up right into the paw where the fur is, and then I'll show you how we're going to finish it off. Okay, so I'm up to the end. I put my last little bit of stuffing in there, and right up here where the yellow fur meets my tube, I'm going to take another stitch, make sure that's snug, and tie to my 4-ply yarn tail here. Give it a nice good tug so everything's nice and snug. And then we want to just close up this last little bit right here. Just stick those up inside. And take my needle and come kind of down in a little bit, not up on the top here, but in a little bit. And take a piece of my fur and another stitch into the fur. One more little stitch to get to the end. If you get in the mesh of the fur yarn, just back your needle out, because it's really hard to pull the needle through that mesh. Okay, and I'm just going to bring the two yarn tails together. And it's amazing to me, it'll just disappear. And we can bury the yarn tails up into the black. Just like that. So you can see that we can do both arms in no time. All right, so I have my black yarn, and I want my shoulder to be up in my yellow fur. For one thing, it kind of looks cool to have that color change there. So line it up right above your leg. Come in where you're changing your color here between your fur and your black. Tie a knot and leave your yarn tail to tie off to when you get back around. That's the best way I've found to secure things, is to have something to tie off to. Okay, so here's our little indent in the paw pad, and where we rolled it over, that's the real nice soft side, so we want that to go in. Okay, just a little bit up into the black, into the yellow, and just start sewing around. You cannot count stitches when you're in your fur yarn, so just, do a nice job going around the top of this arm. Then lift your little arm up, sew underneath, come back around, tie off to your 4-ply right here. Go around a second time if you're inclined to want to do that. Bury your yarn tails, sew your other arm the same way, and join me back. Okay, we need to make our muzzle. So I'm still folding it in half, snugging it up, just like I did this one. And tie the yarn tails together. Okay, so I'm gonna go in my first double end of the row, leave a yarn tail, come over here, and then I can tie them, tie it together. Let me get my yarn tail out of there. There we go. Tie this, and then mattress stitch across the top by going under the row on this side, then find the row on coming up on this side, finding the row over this way, and the next one on this side, and go all the way across. Well, my glue gun's heating up. I'm going to go ahead and take the yarn tails coming out of the top of the muzzle. This will be the top one. And I'm just going to weave it back in and out until I get back to the back part. Just bring it out on the end here. Just leave it there for now, because we can just give it a gentle little pull if we want to curl that lip just a little bit. And this one, I'm going to go ahead and bury this yarn tail because it's small, but had I thought about it, I would have made it long enough to sew back on both sides, but I didn't think about it. So I'm going to bury this yarn tail, and then I'll just tie on again another piece of yellow to sew back down this way. I have my tongue pretty fat this time. I'm going to make sure that it, and make sure you snug this up so you close that lip up really well. And play with it. This is where I wove it, so that goes to the inside. Put it on top here. And we're going to sew it down the sides so we can have our little tongues sticking out. And when we sew it, it's going to just almost look like it has a little bit of a smile. But let's see if this glue gun's hot enough to tack this down. Okay, there it is. Might put one just right here, kind of in the middle. I don't think we're going to need the glue gun for a while, so I'm going to go ahead and unplug it. Okay, so there's my tongue just slightly sticking out, and I'm going to just bring the lip up. You know, you're going to have a curve right here, so I'm just bringing it up where it wants to meet on both sides of the snout. And I'm going to just mattress stitch it closed. It's just going to take a few stitches to close it up. 2 bars and 2 bars. And for my muzzle, I'm using a really soft yarn, not a real stiff like Red Heart Super Saver. Not that kind of yarn. But Super Saver will work if that's all you have. And just closing this up. I think it's going to look really cute. So I'm going to just bring it on up. Do the same thing on the other side. Just tuck my little tongue in. Bring this lip up. And stitch down the side so I have something that looks like this. Looks like it might curl my tongue. Okay, like this. I'll be right back. I am back, and I have sewn up both sides. So I have a cute little tongue, a little rounded nose. I want to put just a ever so slight little bit of stuffing up into the top of the muzzle. Just to round it out a little bit. Don't overdo it. See what that looks like. Just giving it some definition. I like it. I just whip stitched it closed, and then I'm going to just tie off my yarn tails. Anywhere I can find yarn tails to tie together, and bury all of them. Or cut them short. They're going to be up inside the head, so it's really not too important what we do with them. I think I'll just shorten it. Okay, so now we have a cute little beginning of our mouth, and we need a head tube. And I've picked out a couple eyes I think I'm going to use that aren't too big. Alrighty, so this is a 2-inch soft black pom-pom. They're so inexpensive. And that's going to become our nose. And this is our head tube. So we're going to do it the way we did the body. We're going to cast on with our yellow 4-ply, and you can see it right here. And then we're going to crank out 1 row, tie on our yellow fur yarn, crank. We have 15 rows, tie on the black fur yarn, crank to 33 rows, tie on black 4-ply, crank 1 row, and cast off. So we will be closing our tubes up by pulling on our 4-ply, not our fur yarn. And so I have already tied the 2 ends together, and I'm going to just make sure that this is down, sewn onto my neck, so we can just bury those later. Then I'm going to make sure that I have tied my 4-ply and fur yarn together, and not to the one that we have to close it up with. So even if you have to give it a little tug and make sure that you're not tying it off to the wrong one, do that. And then I like to shorten it down just enough that I know I don't get it confused with the one that I need to snug the tube shut with. Same way with this one. I have my 4-ply and my black yarn tail tied together, and this is the one that I'll close it with. So I'm going to just shorten this black 4-ply enough that I'm not confused, but I want to be able to tie off to it and get a needle on it and bury it. So here is our head tube. So with this as the guide for right now. That's the part that's going to be down. We're going to take this cute little muzzle, and with our yarn tails down, just we're fitting it right now. We're going to insert it into the yellow. I'm heating up my glue gun again. Make sure that this is rolled out to the end, and with the fur yarn you'll get a really nice look, because you can't, it's not going to look strange or raggedy. Okay, and now here's where the magic of the great big black teddy bear nose. It's going to go in like this right over the lip, give it a nice big black nose. And if you look at the bears, stuffed bears and whatnot, they all have great big noses like this. When your glue gun is heated up, we're positioning this because we can't sew into it, so we're going to glue it. Okay, glue gun is hot. Just going to roll this back a little bit so I can see the underside of my fur yarn. I don't want it to get out on the edge of the fur. Just going to put a little bead of glue across here. Less is best. Just positioning it down onto my pom-pom, because our pom-pom can roll. We're just adhering this. Okay. It's going to be cute. Let's let that dry. That's really sturdy, with just one little tiny little bead going across, really thin. You don't want it to bubble up or be too heavy. And so now we have our cute little mouth in here. So just decide how much of your mouth you want projecting forward. I like the nose to not be too far back from the top lip. So we can just roll our fur yarn out so we're at the edge, and snug it up a little bit around our muzzle. Still have my yarn tails hanging down, and I am going to sew around, and then we'll secure the bottom of this nose once we have it sewn on. So I've threaded up my yellow thread. I want to start at the bottom. I'm going to start on this side of where we can pull it to snug it. And I always like to start by tying my yarn, so I have a yarn tail to tie off to at the end. And we'll have to make sure we secure these also, because that's our cast on or cast off yarn. Okay, so I'm going to just start stitching, making sure that my fur tube is rolled out. I'm going to go into my lip, into the fur, a little bit into the fur. I've made it to the corner of my pom-pom nose, so I want to really look at it, make sure I like the position of my lips, that my nose is centered over my snout right here. And I'm going to lift this pom-pom up and put a bead of glue underneath it to hold it in place. Let that dry just a minute. Then I'm going to put a little knot right here to secure it. I have my knot right here, and bear in mind that we're stuffing this head out really full. We're going to be bringing it up. We're going to have our eyes inserted. I'm off camera right in here. So when we bring it up, it's going to kind of roll that nose down a little bit. We might have to put just a tiny bit more glue in it, but we'll see how it goes. So I have come underneath through my tube to the other side. I'm going to tie a little knot, take several good looks at it, and finish coming around and tying off underneath its chin. Alrighty, so I buried my yarn tails, and I'm going to go ahead and bury these yarn tails just to get them out of the way. Now we need to do some stuffing of the head so we can position our eyes. So I'm going to start lightly stuffing into this yellow part of my tube. So I'm going to keep my yarn tails out back here. I'm The fur one can tuck in, but when we finally cinch up the tube, we'll tie these two black yarn tails together. But for now, we're getting our yellow part of our tube ready for eyes. Stuffing out some cheeks. We want little cheeks on the side. Don't forget about that. If you lose your yarn tails, we can go look for them in a minute. And this is going to help us know where we want to put our eyes. And it also helps to bring our nose into position. So we want to stuff into the corners here, shaping our nose. This way we can get a really nice big teddy bear head. And then when we finish gluing the pom-pom down, it'll pull that nose down and shape it so cute. Okay, so you use whatever eyes you think are adorable. I'm just using some of my smaller round eyes. So I'm going to put one on each side of its nose and play with the position till I like it, until it looks even, because you can't count. I had a really hard time trying to decide how I wanted to do the eyes, what size, what I wanted them to look like. But at this point, I'm going with little round eyes, little black round eyes, but we need to secure our nose. So I'm just going to lift up this little side right here, put a little bead of glue, not much, push it down to shape that nose, making sure I'm keeping it aligned on the lip correctly, above the lip correctly, just lifting this up a little bit, put in a little piece of glue, and pushing it down. So now I'm securing it just right onto the lip so that we get our shape going. And we don't just have a pom-pom hanging there. We're secured at the top. We're securing it this direction. And we have one nice big nose. And I have my eyes right on the sides, and I'm going to go ahead and secure them. I think I'll do this one first, and then I'll know for sure how it's positioned once I get the clip on it. And these go on really easily. I have a tool I love for the really bigger eyes, but these are just so easy to snap on. And so that's just my little round teddy bear looking eye. Making sure that I have the other one positioned correctly, and I'm going to go ahead and snap it on. My eyes are snapped in, and I went ahead and put a little bit of glue right across the front of this nose. So now I have it pretty much all the way across. My eyes are pretty close up to the nose. I looked at teddy bear pictures. I'm going to undo my glue gun and start stuffing out this head. Okay, so the look I'm going for is getting the cheeks fat, making sure that I've got stuffing into this area right here so it doesn't have a narrow head. And it's so easy to work with this fur yarn. If you want to stuff the cheek out, you just push a little more into the cheek area. You're not going to spread your stitches too far apart. And looking for my yarn tails here. There they are. And you can start closing up the back of the tube here to see if you like your shape. Remember, it's a bee and a bear, so we're trying to get a crossover look going. That's why we have our stripes. And if you think you have it stuffed out enough, you can cinch it up. Stick your yarn tail in. Go ahead and close it up the rest of the way. You can use this shorter yarn tail to tie off to. Get it nice and snug. And usually with the fur yarn, it'll close up where you can't see anything. But if you want to take a stitch with this and then tie it again and bury it, you can. And here is our little bear bee face. Probably want to cut this tongue down just a little bit before I'm done, unless I just really like it hanging out like that. I think it's a good idea to go ahead and sew our head on so it won't be rolling around while we're trying to put our ears and our antennae on. So I'm going to just start right here up on the top and leave myself a nice long yarn tail and give myself a starting place here. Then I'm going to take my head, position it. You can do it a little bit off to one side if you'd like to. And resting it up on top of its body, like this, going to start sewing around. More than likely twice. And you'll probably get in the web of your fur yarn a couple times. So if you do and you can't pull your needle through, just back your needle out and try again. And take looks every now and then to make sure your head is positioned correctly. And just by looking at it like this. So I'm going to go all the way around twice, and then we'll come back and we'll do our ears and our antennae. Alrighty, so let's do the antennas. They're going to be so quick. So this is a 22 pin project. So antennas are 13 rows on the 22 pin. And I cinched up the top and I'm going to put a knot in it, but so we can roll it, let's just cinch the bottom of it up over like 4 fingers. And then go ahead, when you have one end cinched up, put a knot in. There we go. And we want the antennas to be pretty narrow, so this is going to be the base that we sew onto. I'm going to cinch this up over 3 fingers, so it's just a little snugger. And I'm going to sew down from the cinched up end, roll this to give us a nice narrow antenna, and then just start whip stitching it closed. This will be the top of it. And you really can't see what you're doing into the black. So just narrowing it down as much as you can, whip stitch it down to the end and try to get a nice neat end on it. That's the end that's going to go up against the head. So when you get it whip stitched, then we'll sew it onto the top of the head. I already have an ear and an antenna on, and I'll show you how we're going to place the second ear and the second antenna. Closing this up, tie it off, shorten one of the yarn tails down just to be able to tie off to it. And here will be our antenna, and we're going to pop a pom-pom up on the top of it, just like this. So you could do your antenna yellow with the black pom-pom or black with the yellow pom-pom. So I'm going to just go ahead and pop it on top like this. Remember, when it comes to glue, less is best. And this will be my second little antenna. So now we can do the ear, and I'm using yellow regular 4-ply and then the black fur for the outside of the ear. So for the ears, we're going to cast on with yellow, do 7 rows, tie on the fur yarn, do 7 rows, tie on a 4-ply, black 4-ply, crank 1 time, cast off. And then make sure you tie your yarn tails together and really snug it up. So I'm going to finish tying that off. And then close up the yellow end of it. And we're going to close it up to the purl side so we get the full effect of our fur yarn. And then to close this little hole up, you'll need to take a stitch in here and then pull your yarn tail through to the other side. So we can close it up and make a circle. Okay, so I'm just going to go in through the center here. Make sure it closes up. Just grab my fur yarn. There we go. And I'm going to pull it to the inside so we can finish closing this up. And make sure you know which one closes the tube. So it's this one. So we want to make sure that these yarn tails, where we switched from the fur to the 4-ply, also nice and snug. I'm going to shorten this down because this can go to the inside. Go ahead and close up your ear and tie your 2 yarn tails together. And that'll give you a nice round furry little ear. And once I tie mine up, then I'm going to take these 2 yarn tails down to the bottom here where we did our tying on. So that'll be the bottom of the ear. So where this is, I'm going to bring this down and let that just be the bottom of my ear. So thread up your needle. And get that yarn tail down. And there we have it, a nice round little furry ear. Okie doke. So here are the ears and antennas in position. And I have these aren't sewn on, of course, but one above each eye and then the ear nestled in there. Do is thread up our needle, make sure that the antenna are even. So just straight from my finger back, and it'll be really easy to line up because you're going to sew it right on this color change between the 2 furs. Go down the front, turn around, come around the back, and tie it off. I'll be right back when I have mine sewn on. All right, so I went all the way around the ear, and then when I got to the front, I tied off to my yellow yarn tail. And now just to narrow the base of the ear just a little bit, I'm just going to grab in the fur yarn on this end and come in on this end of the ear. Trying to stay out of the mesh. Let's see if I did. Nope. Let me try it again on this side. So hard to pull it through the mesh. There we go. And now I'm just going to tie this off again to my yellow yarn tail from the inside of the ear. Just to close this ear up a little bit at the base and give it a little narrower profile. And I'm just going to tie it off and bury my yarn tails. Back into the fur of the back of my head because it's easy to hide it there. So I'm going this way. And still trying to stay out of the mesh so I can pull it on through. Whoop, I made it this time. Not always that easy. Okie doke. So now we have our little antenna up here. We have cute little ears. Thread up some black yarn and let's put the little black yarn coming down this way to shape that. Be right back. It always looks so much cuter when the ears go on. So now I have my velour yarn. If you don't have the plush yarn and maybe you used all fur yarn, then just get a double strand of a black that you have. I am going to come in maybe just even through the top of the head, because when you tie this off, you'll never see it. And I'm going to come right here in the middle of the nose right here. right as close to the nose where we glued it as I can get it. And bring it down. So that's going to give us our definition there. So let's bring this so that it comes right underneath. I hope I have this long enough. We'll see in a minute. Make sure you make it nice and long. Okay, I'm going to come down this way. So it's just going to wrap that and come back up where I went in, really close to that. Let's see what happens. Untwist it. And there we go. That's going to give us that definition in the mouth there. Oops, its tongue kind of got messed up. There we go. So it'll look like that. And I'm just going to go ahead and snip my needle off and tie each of the two ends together separately. And that'll secure it, and then I'll just bury them. You can't pull very hard on this. Remember, this yarn breaks pretty easily. So a gentle knot. Find my other yarn tail. Tie those together gently or it'll break. And then thread up your needle and send these yarn tails go in different directions so it's not bulky. And we're getting closer to being done. It's morning, and I'm still working on my little mythical creature here. So these are little foam sheets, and this is actually a piece of paper. They're easily bought at Walmart. They're right by the felt sheets that are like 8.5 by 10. They're just all different colors. You can get different size packs of a few or a bunch of them. But I'm going to make my wings with these instead of yarn because our yarn, we can't really shape it that well. It's bulky. And I don't see these at my Walmart because I live in a very small town. But when I go to Hobby Lobby, they have beautiful felt sheets similar to this, but they have glitter in different colors. This came out of a big sheet like this, and I cut it so that the glitter would be on my wings. I used this on Sean's Magic Dragon for his beautiful wings. They have just a sample that's left. I bought this one, I haven't used yet, but some really pretty colors. Here's a darker blue. I don't know what I'll ever use it for. But these little foam sheets, they might even call them pops, are 4 by 6. And what I did to get my wing is just fold it in half and narrow it down at one end, just like, remember how we cut hearts out when we were kids, like this. I don't want to really bend my good one, so it's like this. And here it is sitting on my uncut one. And I'm going to glue it on, and then I'll just have, because if I had enough of this, I would glue them together and have beautiful wings on both sides, but I do not, because I use this on Sean's Magic Dragon, and Hobby Lobby is over an hour away. I don't have 2 hours to spend going to Hobby Lobby. So I'm going to just use the plain blue on the back. That's not what we're really going to see. I like it that it's not going to be yellow or black. It's going to be a new color that we're introducing. I'm going to plug my glue gun in and keep this large. Don't cut it down yet. And then I can just run a bead of glue around the edge, a little bit back from the edge, lay it down on my sheet, spread it out like this, flatten it down, and then cut around it. I think that'll be the easiest way to do it. So I'm going to get my 2 wings ready. So they're 6 inches, a little less than 4. You can make yours any size you want because it's your mythical creature. So keep your glue away from the very, very, very edge. So you're not when you're cutting it, you're not cutting through a clump of glue, and keep your glue thin. One beautiful wing. So this is more of a felt, and it's going to be more durable than your foam backing is. So I'll tell you that if you do like this, it's going to mark it. You're going to see that. So this will be optional. If you have a brand new sheet of felt with the glitter, something you want to use, then put it on both sides and you can skip this step. But if you're going to use like a foam pop, then I am going to Mod Podge this and just get that on there, and it will give it a little bit of a gloss and make it a little more sturdy. Okay, so I'm just going to do a light coat on the back here, and then it can be drying while we work on our feet. This is, so we have toes, a pad, a cute little paw, easy to make, adorable. So how are we going to do it? So I already cranked out my tube, and here are the row counts. So with the 4-ply, we're going to crank until we've completed 21 rows, tie on your yellow, and crank till you have 24 rows, tie on your black, crank until you have 27 rows, tie on your yellow, crank until you have 30 rows, then tie on your yellow 4-ply, crank one time around, cast off, turn it out to the purl side out, and if you do it like I do it, you've tied the beginning of a knot each time, but not completed the knot while it was on your Addy or your Centro 22 pin. That lets me know when I pull my black and yellow that I've got the right ends, and I can snug it up and complete that knot. You want to make sure that you don't tie off to the one that you're going to pull with to close up the end of that tube. So I always give it a little test, and this you can snug up pretty good. You'll get more play in it than you will in these further up, because that's where you were casting on. And then find this one we've already tied. Here's my next one, yellow to black, so I'm going to finish tying it. Coming up here, getting my 4-ply to the yellow, snug that up and tie it. So that completed my knots. And then you can thread up your needle or get a crochet hook and pull all those yarn tails to the inside. For the 4-ply that we first tied our fur yarn onto, let's keep that, and the one we're going to snug up, let's keep them out, and all the other yarn tails can go to the inside. And again, this is the purl side. So get all your yarn tails buried except for the two on the end right here. All my yarn tails are hidden now, and I actually use my latch hook. The first time I used the crochet hook, latch hook was easier. So stretch your tube out, and this might be a little unconventional, but we're going to have where we have our yarn to cinch it up with at the bottom, and we're just going to pull it up over our little stuffed out leg here, keeping the yarn tails at the bottom, where it's like a sleeve coming up over. And then snug it up around the top of that leg. We'll secure that at the end. But we're just kind of snugging it up now just to keep it into position. Tucking our yarn tails back in because they were kind of long, so they're just popping out here. And snug this up around this paw pad, but not too snug yet because we're going to stuff out the top to bring that toe up. And I just wanted to have one already done so you can see how cute it is. But we have a little stuffing right up in here. So we have a cute little paw shape instead of just a round circle. Let's snug that up a little bit. See how it looks. They feel about the same, so I'm going to go with that. So I'm only stuffing up in the fur part here. And continue cinching it up. And I want it to close up, but still have my nub sticking out like this. Because that's what we're going to mount our adorable little pom-poms to give it toes. Okay, so let's go ahead and close this up. Knot it. Thread up your needle with your longest yarn tail. We want to secure this to the end, so get your yarn out of the way, and you can see your 4-ply stitches here going around your, was that how our cast off row? So leaving your little paw pad exposed right here, go into your tube. Then I just raked my fur back and went under about 3 of the loops here. Back in my paw, just under a thread. Come up and go under at least 3 to 4 of these loops. We're just making sure that it stays in position. Give it a little snug. Tie it off and bury your yarn tails, just like that. Okay, so I have my glue gun heating up. Have my cute little paw, but look how much cuter it is with toes. Here is the trick, so we don't have our pom-poms just sticking way out. We can flatten it just by coming to one side and trimming it down a little bit so that it's flat. And then lay that down on your flat surface. Pick up your next one. You're not cutting real deep into it. You're just giving it a flat surface. Just cutting off wisps. Set it flat surface down, so when you glue it, you'll know how to position it. These are our small 1-inch pom-poms. This is a 2-inch pom-pom for the bigger part of the foot pad, and do it the same way. Trim it so we have a flat surface. That's where we're going to be gluing, and lay it flat down. I'll get rid of these wisps. Alrighty, so I'm going to take my biggest one, because they're not all completely created equal, and glue it so the bottom of it's just about to touch that paw pad right there. I'll just go ahead and let it fall over. Less is best, because you can go back and add more glue, but you can't take it off. So brush your fur up and position this first one so the bottom of it is just kissing your end of your leg tube. Next one up. We're only going to have 3. I don't know how many a real bear has. That one in position. Flat surface down each time. Here's our last one. I'm going to set my teddy bee up and take a look at it. It is just so cute. Look. It just adds, you know, some character. Okay, so this one's just going to go right over the end. Less is best. A nice light ring, a little bit right in the center. And then get your fur out of the way, because we want that fur to lap up over it. That's what makes it so cute. And go ahead and press that into place. And there is an adorable paw pad with toes. Bare toes. Cute, huh? Okay, let's set it to the side and let it dry. Oh, and I'll go ahead and tell you when they dry just a little bit. Just snug this tube up, because now it's in position at the bottom. It's not going to shift. Snug it up all the way to the top of your leg tube. Snug it closed. Then you'll thread up put a knot after you get it nice and snug around that leg tube. And this gives our leg a little more dimension also, so it's a little bit thicker. Tie a knot, and then when you sew around, you're not sewing into the body, you're just sewing in and grabbing the top of your leg tube, and go around twice, knot it off, making sure that you're going into the leg tube and not just under the stitches on our leg sleeve. So you want to go down in, go around twice, and it'll look like this. Nobody will ever know it was a sleeve that went over your original foot. And we'll have these really, really cute paws. And then we're going to do our wings, and I'll finish mine up off camera, my leg. So how are we going to do our wings? Well, we can't really sew into this very well. So we need a tube. And this is just on the 22 pin. The entire project is 13 rows. And let's get our yarn tails to the center back. We're going to insert our wing into it. Insert this wing into it. Get it positioned. Then we can turn it over. You may have beautiful wings on both sides. I don't. Just snugging it up a bit, and then we're going to glue it into position. So mine aren't quite touching, not quite, so I can just feel right here where I can sew through here without catching it. So I'm going to just lift this up, put a light bead of glue at the top here, and then just pat my tube back down, hot. Oops. That went through my tube. That's why we use light. Don't get your glue on too thick, because this is just a single layer. It's not a double layer. Okay. And decide where you're going to put its wings. And I'm going to sew mine right onto that black stripe. Coming down to the bottom. I'll thread my needle up and tie that off and bury that yarn tail in a minute. But look at these beautiful wings. I love the feet. I love that it has toes and wings that are kind of flying back because of the way we put them on. So we are about to wrap our teddy bee up for the tail with your black 4-ply. You're going to do 17 rows, and then just like we did this tube that we pulled up over the leg, we're going to tie on your fur and do 3 yellow, 3 black, 3 yellow, then tie on your yellow 4-ply, crank around 1 time and cast off. We're going to keep the purl side out, so just cinch this tail up like it was the end of a beanie, tie a knot, bury your yarn tails. Then, just like we did with our antennae up here, you're going to take that tube and just roll it so that we're narrowing it down so it's not the full width. And we're going to just stitch it up all the way down through the fur, and then knot it off, tie it off, and just sew it around. And I like when it's a small tube like this to go around twice so that there's more stitches and it's a more secure tail. Pretty cute, isn't it? Okay, so let's just fine tune. So if you want to, and I did, I pulled up on the pom-pom on the top of the nose. And if I found something like this sticking up, I just trimmed it off very carefully, because you can trim these pom-poms. I don't want to get in my yellow fur yarn, but you can just do this with your finger, get the shape the way you want it. And then also, I wanted my eyes to show, so I'm just very carefully getting in here and just trimming the fur just a little bit around the eye so it's not, see how this one is being covered up? So I'm just going to be very careful and just shorten it where it's going over the eye so that I can see that cute little black eye there. And that's a better look because now we have eyes. Really be gentle when you're trimming your pom-pom, because if you overdo it, it'd be hard to get it off. Okay, so I just like that little shape of the nose. We have cute pom-pom toes and paw pads. The whole thing feels so cute. I like that the wings kind of flop so it really can fly. And the way they're sewn on, they're aimed back like a bee's. They're not just flat like this. They're actually going back. Really cute. And I think having that tail back here, even though it sat really, really well, I think it just adds a little more stability. So I'm going to clean up my table and call this little guy a completed mythical creature, a teddy bee. So thank you for watching. I hope that you'll take just a moment to like, subscribe, share the tutorial. So God bless you. I hope you'll check out some of the other playlists and stand up your tubes and make some fur creatures, some mythical creatures, dolls. There's always that fur beanie. So thank you so much, and God bless you for watching.